If you're looking for a clean, sober, professional, academic,
well-researched, historically accurate, generally accurate, serious podcast
on Southern folklore, ghosts, bizarre events, and unique people,
this podcast is not for you.
However, if you've decided you can live with that,
then join us for The Strange South.
I'm liking this more and more.
Are you?
I really am.
Yeah. Y'all didn't seem to. When you first, I was looking at your faces and it was like, oh, yeah.
It's because you were looking at our faces. We were like having, what is my face showing?
For some reason, when I was looking at it, I was seeing something super sweet. So when I tasted it, it wasn't what I expected it. So it took me a second to adjust.
I was wondering because I thought, they really don't like this.
I don't know if it's because the blueberries maybe that made me think that, because it's a margarita. Like, I knew there was tequila in it, so I should have been expecting
should have known it would taste like tequila.
I should have known it would taste like tequila.
No, it is delicious.
Mine's a little sticky. Hi.
Hi, Marleah.
Hi, Patrice. Hi, Courtney.
Hi, y'all.
Hey.
Laissez les bon temps rouler.
You can say it again. Say it again. Say it for all of us.
We can't. Because we're like,
let the good times roll.
I know.
Yeah.
And it's not like I haven't, looked at it and said, okay, that's cool. I'll never remember that.
I took time many, many years ago. I was obsessed with New Orleans. When I was younger, like middle school, I wanted to get to New Orleans because you know me. I want to be where the people are, the action is.
Did you want to see him dancing?
I wanted to see him dancing.
Walking around on there. What's that word again?
And so I saw that phrase, that French phrase, and I know how to even spell it. Like, I can write it out. I can write it. Like, I just became obsessed with anything French, Creole. Yeah.
Cool.
I did research on it in college.
Wow.
The Creole, yeah.
That's cool.
The French Creole language.
I can like, I don't know.
I love New Orleans.
I
and
can
I know
hear
Mobile
French.
is original, and I love Mobile too. But it's more family friendly. I'm going for the
That's
debauchery.
not what we're there for. I was like, that's great and all.
Love it. I know it's the first. Great. No, my family's there now. So Candace is there. Vivian.
Oh, in Mobile?
Yeah.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, I saw some pictures this morning. They've taken all the kids to Mardi Gras.
Okay, well, if I was going to take my kids, I'd much rather take them to Mobile.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
Or, to the ice cream shop and then back home. There's that, too.
Yeah, they'll be just as happy.
Oh, it's 101. We've passed...
100.
We've passed it now.
Yeah, y'all.
Now it's all downhill from here.
Oh,
shush. We got nothing else to look forward to.
Shush it.
It's like when you turn 21.
Oh, yeah.
It's like the next thing that happens is I can legally rent a car, and then nothing.
Right.
Nothing.
And then nothing.
It was all downhill after that.
Well,
it's taken me forever. I haven't even got 100 up yet.
I finished the show page this morning, finally.
I know.
It took me 2 weeks or whatever, however long that's been.
But I was listening to us, and I was like, oh, y'all, I love our podcast.
Oh, I love it too.
It's always when I go for a long period of time where I can't get to it. And then I hear us, I remember why we're doing this.
Yeah.
And it's so much fun.
I have that too.
And I appreciate y'all so much. Love you girls.
I love y'all too.
And you people out there in the big wide world.
Yeah.
who listen to us.
Right.
Have
and
this
are still
little love fest every time.
Every time.
And our sometimes tipsy fest.
Our sometimes tipsy fest.
Yeah, see, that's what's funny is because the only sound that I do is the after talk. So I I listen to it and I remember how fun it is too. And I'm like, wow, this went too far. If you would like to engage in that with us at any point, join our Patreon.
I think
get
everybody's
our after talk.
Still waiting for you to continue your barefoot erotica.
Oh, my Bigfoot erotica.
I was thinking about.
I could probably start an entirely separate.
That's totally different.
We should do a spin-off. Marleah reads cryptid erotica. I would be 100%. I love reading things out loud. I'm on board.
Awesome. Y'all
Look for that.
look for that. Coming soon.
Coming soon. Coming in the fall of 2022.
Can't even talk. I don't know how tonight's going to go, y'all. That's what I'm telling you. Oh, I just like my words.
And this isn't helping this drink.
And yeah, it's just been like a long freaking weekend. Well, we bought the ginormous thing. Okay. So,
Yes.
and I was thinking about it because, okay, y'all. So I bought like this obscenely large television.
It's in a size that televisions didn't used to ever even reach. Like,
Yes. It's obscenely large. Like, I didn't think we were going to get it in Marleah's van.
I know, and
large.
it's a fucking minivan.
And it's a minivan. Yeah, I thought
It's
we were
I
going to have to
drive
like rent a
Honda
U-Haul.
Odyssey. I know. I was like, oh, it'll be fine. And then I saw the guy come out with a box, and I was like, oh.
Yeah.
But this is really, honestly, the first like pure thing that I have ever bought for just pure like indulgence ever. Like every time I buy anything expensive, I always have like a side plan, a side hustle. Like it's always part of something with my work, a way to like I can turn around and make money. Like I always have like a backup plan. And this is the first time that I've ever spent my birthday money on something that is just pure indulgent. And I felt that like when I bought it and I brought it home, and how excited you couldn't tell like Chad's excitement. But when you left and like we pulled it out of the box and started, like it took all day.
Did you giggle?
I didn't giggle, but
Chad
my husband
giggled.
and Max for sure, my son, definitely like giggled, especially when I started marking up like how large it was going to be on the wall. They were just in disbelief because we've never done this before, like ever.
It's good that you did. So now you should do that more often. Because when it's your birthday money, you should do something that's just something
Usually
you
my
want.
birthday money always gets absorbed into bills and to food.
Oh,
and
dude, I feel that
stuff.
though. I know that always happens to me,
Every
too. It's
single
like,
time.
oh, this will
Yeah.
pay off a fraction of my credit card.
Right.
The tiniest fraction.
So that I was so excited about that,
Yay.
and everybody else in the family was too. And the thing about it is, like, we game as a family, and so the fact that this ginormous thing on our wall is very in your face, I can finally see what I'm doing.
This television wasn't big enough. It's a pretty big TV. So
That was the one that
That
was
was the
upstairs.
old-
upstairs TV came down to the pod basement with us
Yes.
watching Mardi Gras.
Yeah, we've got
coverage.
Mardi Gras on in the background, which is
Right.
people, like, there's a bunch of just, like, drunk white people at Mardi Gras. I've never been.
That's basically
This is
yeah.
it. They're holding their hands up. That dude's trashed. He ain't got no shirt
And really,
on.
that's not that many people.
No, it's
No,
not.
that's like easy, like early daytime.
Right.
There's
Well,
a guy dressed as Donald Trump,
Oh, he looks
but not
scary.
orange enough.
no.
There's a douchebag on a golf cart.
Mhm.
Yeah, I mean,
Oh yeah.
yeah.
I think this was last year, so still COVID.
It was
time.
not
okay.
as-
So
yeah.
it's not current. Okay.
Yeah, so yeah, that'll be. But we're gonna do it next year, so it's gonna be. It's
I've
gonna
already
be.
warned everybody, and I probably need to start saving my money now.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking too. I was like, because this is the power of saying it, and now we've said it on the internet
We
radio
have.
as well, so everybody can
Has
hold
to-
us to
Yeah,
it.
you
Yep.
better hold us to it.
That we
Patrice's
are
birthday
doing it.
/ Mardi Gras season.
Yes, yes, and it's gonna be
2023, COVID free.
insane.
Probably need to start exercising.
We need
We
to
probably
start
need
day
to-
drinking.
I know, right? We really need to build our
prepare.
tolerance back up now.
All the things.
We all
for-
quit drinking in
for
January, and now
drinking
we're like, oh, we're
and
never gonna make it.
walking. Like, I need to get that pain tolerance
Yeah,
up
we need to
there.
drink and walk.
That's the next.
Walk
That's our next
while we
goal
drink.
post. While we
Take
drink.
the Ladaga Trail with a margarita. In
Oh my God, it's the best.
Hurricane.
We could start a group. It's like train for Mardi Gras.
5Ks and Margarita 5K.
We'll be counting the ounces of alcohol that intake.
Is it a
like-
competition?
Learn how to pee.
Yeah, you got to hit a certain threshold before you can be considered ready for the marathon. It's like timing your runs.
Oh my gosh.
Brings
Oh,
us to our
God.
drink that's hitting me pretty fast.
Yes.
It's likely that we will all die when we do this trip.
Oh, I was like, wait, after this one drink?
No.
Chad's already like got life insurance out on me, so
I know.
as soon
Randy
as-
signed up for mine yesterday.
Oh, good. I added additional like a couple of weeks ago
Yes.
at university. So
Yes, this drink.
the Mardi Gras Rita.
Yeah.
Ooh,
I've been thinking about it today.
that's a good name.
It is actually a lemon margarita. So it's kind of like a lemon drop with tequila. So
Love both of those.
I like it more and more the
we
longer
have
I drink it.
a nice sugar rim with, I did lemon and lime zest in it to make it green and yellow, but it didn't quite take like I wanted it to, with agave. And I used some of the orange Patron liqueur in it too. And it's a lot of tequila.
I can tell.
Lots.
But I like the sugar rim with this because it's
I do
very
too.
tart.
Yeah, the sugar rim's perfect with it. A lot of the time, well, I used to always wipe the salt rims off of my margaritas, and then I finally learned how much I liked them.
Yeah.
But like
This needs the sugar, but
this
it's very
needs
tart.
the sugar. It's really good. Perfect.
I saw our local First Baptist Nutri.
Wait, what?
Nutri.
The Nutra's out.
How do you say
Yeah,
that?
Nutra.
Nutra. Nutria.
Yeah.
Nutria.
It's Nutria, but you say it Nutra.
Nutra.
Yeah.
Okay. So he's out.
Giant rodent.
The giant
Shit.
rodent
I
is
still
out.
have never seen it, and I'm still convinced it's not one. I really am, but I've got to. Like you've
He was-
said, so like you're
5
convinced it
times. Like,
is.
oh,
You've
yeah.
seen it all the time.
It's got the rat tail. That's how you tell. It looks
Yeah.
like a beaver, but it's got a rat tail.
Yeah.
And I've taken out enough rats lately to know the difference between a rat. Yeah, my with the springtime, it definitely brings the rose animal treats a lot more. Like I think a bird, at least 3 lizards since we last met.
Already
Oh.
this early in the season
Bird.
for lizards.
3 lizards, 2 mice, a rat, and no chipmunks. Luckily,
Well, not yet.
not yet. Will be tomorrow. Universe heard me.
Oh my god.
And that's, I really don't have anything. We just all been working.
I know. We really have. There's
So,
been.
yeah, and we
plenty going on.
apologize for the crazy schedule. It's just unavoidable.
We appreciate you sticking it out with us.
We do. Go back and listen to some old episodes, you know.
Tell us what we said because I don't remember.
I know.
Tell
That's
us what we did.
no kidding. No kidding.
And I listened to My Favorite Murder today, their latest one, and Karen did one on like the Big Top Fire.
I'll listen to that.
Oh yeah, and I was like, this is why you listen to one channel of like your favorite channel of podcast, because it doesn't matter what they talk about. It's always interesting. I would never go out and want to listen to anything about, a circus fire. I mean, I wouldn't pick that as a topic because usually that's how I surf for podcasts.
Is by topic.
It's by topics, usually because I'm researching, but also, kind of things that I'm interested in. But I realized that I need to stop doing that and pick the people that I really enjoy listening to, and then they can talk about anything. And I'll not only learn something that I wouldn't gone out and, sought, but enjoy it just a lot more. So there's my PSA for the day.
Thank you for that.
I don't know where I was going with that. Shut up talking and let's get to it.
Get the
Let's
business,
get
people.
rocking.
We got a king cake waiting for
We
us.
got a king cake.
From Artisanal Baked Goods in
got
Anniston,
bees.
Alabama. The best king cake.
Artisanal.
I can't remember who got the baby last year.
I don't know that we did. I mean, there's only 3 of us, and the cake's pretty big. Did we cut the
Probably one of
baby
my
out
kids.
the
One of our
first
kids
time?
probably
I think
got
Coco
it.
got
I think
it.
my kid got
Yeah.
it, but she ain't gonna buy no king cake. So
Right.
isn't that the
Never
deal?
works. Yeah,
it
you're supposed
doesn't
to buy
work.
the next year. So.
No.
I'm gonna have to
I
have a
always-
talk.
I'm usually the one buying them, so thank you.
You buy them, yeah.
Oh,
well, because
yes,
you buy
thank
them
you.
at work.
I buy 'em
Usually,
for
you're
work.
buying like a couple. Who's first this week?
I think I'm first.
I think you are too.
The last time we talked about Tallulah Bankhead,
Oh yeah, Tallulah.
darling, she had gonorrhea.
Oh yeah.
And she kept getting misdiagnosed because apparently women of stature and fame cannot have gonorrhea, but they all did.
Possibly.
But she was misdiagnosed and almost died and left the hospital at like 70 pounds.
Ooh.
And this
Holy
was,
crap.
I know, when she was 31. So, of course, that didn't slow her down. You know, her parting words were, "Don't think this has taught me a lesson."
I love it.
And she's just so awesome. I just don't even.
I bet she was really hard to live with, though.
Oh my gosh. I bet she was miserable. Like nobody really. She's one of those people that couldn't do anything for herself. So, you know, upper class, extremely privileged, had money, didn't really have to worry about anything. And when she did, she got other people to do it for her. So living the life. She went back to Broadway. She portrayed Elizabeth in the revival of Somerset Maugham. A lot of this is for theater folks, and I'm just like, she was so many different plays and stuff that I don't even really want to go over it. They list it all here, but I'm like, yeah. Okay. She played.
You can look it up.
You can look it up if you're that interested. She played Cleopatra.
Okay, we know that one.
We know that one. And the New York Evening Post. Oh my God, y'all, I'm so fucked. The New York Evening Post critics said that Tallulah Bankhead barged down the Nile last night as Cleopatra and sank.
Oh, shit.
And the
Damn.
feeling that I get is that she plays herself. Really, it's really what she's good at. She doesn't have much range, but when it's like a character that fits how she is, she can like nail it. In 1936, she was actually the first choice to play Scarlett O'Hara in Gone with the Wind.
Oh, yeah.
And she did a screen test, and she did the screen test in black and white. It was fantastic. So they were like all excited about it. But they started doing photographs of her in Technicolor because, you know, that was about the time that we switched over to color, you know, Gone with the Wind and then Wizard of Oz.
Wizard of Oz was
Yeah.
it, yeah.
And she just did not look good in Technicolor. Because she had to convince people that she was 16 because of the way Gone with the Wind was. Remember, she starts off at 16 and then it like follows her. So she just couldn't pull off that young age. She was like 30 something, mid 30s at this time.
That would be hard. I mean,
Right. And so they went with Vivian Leigh, who did a pretty good job.
how old was she, I wonder? Do you know?
I don't know.
I would say in her 20s for sure.
Yeah.
But
Definitely not in her
late.
30s. But the
Mid to
fact that they were trying to give this role to Tallulah in her 30s at that time is pretty impressive. The fact that she worked constantly, to me, is very impressive. She's done so much throughout her career. It's just jam-packed full of things.
She was 26. Vivian Leigh was 26.
Okay. So they felt bad for not giving her the lead role like they promised her. And so they said, well, you could play the brothel owner, Belle Watling. And she was like, no thanks, darling.
That would have been good though.
It would have been
I
good.
like that role.
Yeah.
I can't remember it. I've seen it once.
Rhett.
I've only
That's
seen
where
it once.
Rhett's companion, Rhett's.
I think it was probably just a slap
'Cause it
to
was
her
not-
ego.
Not a
Oh,
big
yeah.
part.
Right.
It's
That
like,
she-
no, we can't give you this one, but you can have this thing.
Right. After that, she was actually in The Little Foxes, which won her Variety Magazine Award for Best Actress. And that was a screenplay by another woman called Lillian Hillman. And she played an old, ruthless, fiery character. She seems to, again, like you were saying, probably hard to live with, probably hard to be around with because she was just so out there all the time performing. And she's butted head with the director. Or the playwright, there a few times. But that was more because the playwright was a communist and she was definitely anti-communist. But they ended up, after they butt heads, they made up. But still pretty impressive for a playwright to, have this really strong woman play and get all these accolades for this show. She said about that role, she's like, it was the best role I ever had in the theater. So it did her good.
I've never heard of that one.
I have not either. This is a lot of this is things I have never heard of before. So I'm just going to skim over all of, sorry, theater people. Wikipedia will let you know. And then in 1944, she was 42 years old. Alfred Hitchcock casted her as the cynical journalist Constance Porter in her most successful film, both critically and commercially, Lifeboat. And I actually watched that. I downloaded that one afternoon and watched it with my husband because he was like, what the hell are we watching?
That's the one I was going to watch too.
I've never heard of that.
Well, when you started talking about her, I looked up some of her most famous, and that was
it.
The list.
You know, it was interesting. It was weird that it was a Hitchcock movie. I mean, it definitely felt like a Hitchcock movie, but then it didn't feel like a Hitchcock movie. But it was, World War II. The boat that everybody was on got hit by a submarine, and then it was like this journalist who was covering the war, which she played, was in a lifeboat, and they were taking on people, and so it was wartime. And then one of the people they took on was actually a German, because their submarine got hit. And so it was definitely playing with us versus Germany, Nazis, and subterfuge. I mean, all in this little lifeboat. So this whole scene was like in this little lifeboat. It's interesting. Look it up. It's definitely worth a watch, but I would not go out seeking to watch it.
Got it.
She won New York Film Critics Circle Award. And when she accepted her award, she says, "Darling, I was wonderful," which is basically what her character would say. So again, she pretty much is her character. When she was in her mid 40s to 50s, is right after World War II, a lot on Broadway. And Broadway made her some money. Actually, it's where she made her fortune. She ended up commanding 10% of the gross profits and was billed larger than any of the other actors casted in plays that she was in. About then, 1950s, NBC hired her to host The Big Show, which she did for about 2 years. So she was the mistress of ceremonies, pretty much like a Johnny Carson, like
a variety
show with monologue, and written by Dorothy Parker, who I probably should know who that is, but I don't, and sang songs. And was pretty popular, but she was competing with Jack Benny and the others in the 50s and just wasn't getting the audience that she needed, so they started rotating other people. She was first choice for the role of Amanda in the film Glass Menagerie by Tennessee Williams, who was a good friend of hers.
I was going to say, she seems like she would fit really well into Tennessee Williams' world.
Yes.
Oh, didn't we say something about that? Like Blanche Dubois?
Yes,
oh, yeah.
she did. She played, he wrote Blanche Dubois for her.
Yeah.
During this time, she's mid 40s to 50s. She's never been easy to work with, but because of her, drinking and mixing with pills and just the way that she is, she didn't like to prep for anything. They always thought that she was going to be difficult and not do what she needed to do the part. And most of the time they were wrong, actually. She was on I Love Lucy once. They had the Celebrity Next Door phase of their show. And it was supposed to be Betty Davis, but Betty Davis had some kind of injury or something, so Tallulah went in instead, and she never showed up for rehearsal, and she was drinking all the time, and she never rehearsed, actually. And so Lucy was very nervous about having her there on the show. But she showed up and knocked it out of the park and did such a great job.
I feel like this should be a cautionary tale to teenagers of you can do a great job even if you don't show up to rehearsal, but everybody's gonna want to never work with you again anyway.
Right. It's a one-time deal because then they just can't rely on you because you're too. Yes, you're right. That's true. She was privileged. She didn't care. She had money to fall back on. In 1953, she had a stage act in Vegas and was making $20,000 a week.
Damn.
And so she was sought after. She was the life of the party. She could go in and draw a crowd, and people knew what she delivered. She was vaudeville, basically, from the very beginning. That's what she brought to the table is entertainment to the audience, and she got paid for it. When they first started this out, they thought, well, this is going to be a flop, but she ended up doing so well that she stayed in Vegas for 3 years and commanded that much money a week for 3 years. And while she was in Vegas, she began to attract passionate and highly loyal following of gay men.
Aww.
And she employed them as helping with her because she couldn't do anything for herself, and she started affectionately calling them her caddies. And so, she's getting into her 50s, which, God, no. She long struggled with her addiction, and her condition was worsening now, and she was starting to drink dangerous cocktails of drugs to fall asleep. And because when you're getting towards your 50s, you fucking hurt. Regardless, you hurt. And if you don't, I hate you. And her maid would have to tape her arms down to prevent her from consuming pills during her periods of wakefulness.
Oh my God.
Which I totally feel, because I wake up in the middle of the night, and if I am hurting, I will go take pills, but I'll be half asleep. And I've scared myself a couple of times. And I take ibuprofen. I can't take any of the strong stuff. Strong stuff makes me really ill. But I have dangerously taken too much ibuprofen simply because I forgot that I'd wake up still hurting, kind of stuff. So aging sucks. So I feel it. Anything stronger is scary. She started to have serious accidents and several psychotic episodes from sleep deprivation. She also took hypnotic, or she says something like hypnotic drug abuse. I don't know what that means either. But apparently she was maybe hallucinating from not sleeping and then taking all the drugs. And she always hated to be alone. And so she was struggling with loneliness and depression and drug addiction and alcoholism, and still working her ass off. In 1956, she played the truth game with Tennessee Williams, and she confessed, "I am 54 years old, and I wish always for death. I'm always wanting death. Nothing else will do. Nothing else will do. I want more." So it was really catching up with her. We talked about Blanche DuBois, the same year. All of this happens so quickly with her. She's still working. She's probably doing the drugs, probably doing the drinking, just to keep up with how rigorous that she's been professionally, her whole life. Tennessee Williams wrote Blanche DuBois for her, and the first 2 weeks of the show, she played it campy, and she was appealing to the audience, but he hated it. Yeah. Everybody hated it, and that's what the critics wrote about. And I think he may have even confronted her about it, and she was like, "No, I'll straighten up." And so
he's like, "Be honest for once."
Right. Yes, exactly.
Because that's what that role calls for.
And so she said, "Okay, I'm going to make an effort, and I will, conquer the audience that had come there to see her specifically." And so Tennessee Williams, she gave a fantastic performance, you would think that she would, because of her character and that character. Tennessee Williams said, "I am not ashamed to say that I shed tears almost all the way through, and that when the play was finished, I rushed up to her and fell to my knees at her feet. The human drama, the play of a woman's greatest valor and an artist's truth, her own, far superseded and even eclipsed to my eye the performance of my own play." So she knocked it out of the park. But by that time, those first reviews already pretty much put a nail in the coffin to the play, and it closed a couple of weeks later.
That sucks.
It really does suck.
But I wonder how long somebody with her temperament would have been able to hold up doing a performance like that.
That's true.
'Cause I don't think she could have.
Yeah,
I don't think she could have done it.
She's declining
forever.
pretty
Yeah,
fast.
she'd have
right
to give it
now.
all every night, and she didn't have.
Yeah.
She also won a Tony Award for her performance of a bizarre 50-year-old mother in a play called Midgie Purvis. That was 1961. But again, like y'all talking about, physically demanding roles, and she insisted on doing stunts herself, including like sliding down staircase banisters.
Oh my God.
Playing up to the crowd. It was actually her last theatrical performance was The Milk Train Doesn't Stop Here Anymore, which was another Tennessee Williams play. And she suffered a severe burn on her right hand from a match exploding while she lit a cigarette. And it was aggravated by, the importance of jewelry props in the play. So because of that injury, she took even heavier painkillers, and it dried out her mouth. And then she became where readings were most unintelligible.
Oh no.
And she only made 5 performances of that her last theater performance. But it did not stop her. She went on to 1964, a radio appearance, which was her last for the BBC. And you could hear it that she was like suffering audibly from breathing difficulties, from emphysema, from smoking all of her life. And also because she had that pneumonia early on that caused her really deep voice that she had. So her lungs weren't great to begin with, and then she smoked on top of that. She said, she's like, I couldn't put a key in the door, darling. I can't do anything for myself. And he basically said, she was a very frail and ailing old lady, and he was shocked to see how old and ill she looked. When she came in for the interview, he had to help her out of the taxi, and she was wearing her mink coat slung over a pair of pajamas and was leaning on his arm pretty heavily to support her. He said that her hands shook, and when she wished to go to the loo, she had to ask somebody to help her, which is so humbling, right? But again, she's still working. In 1965, her last motion picture, which I haven't seen, which I kind of want us to watch, was a horror film that was called Fanatic. And it was released in the U.S., though, as Die, Die, My Darling, which she absolutely hated because they were exploiting her famous catchphrase. Yes. And so she fussed, but they never did change it. And when she screened it privately with her friends, she apologized for looking older than God's wet nurse. and it's because they wanted her to look old, and they actually dyed her hair gray. And the director was very, used very claustrophobic close-ups to accentuate her age and frailty. It was a B-movie horror flick that she called a piece of shit, but I imagine that it's great because it immediately got cult status with her fans. And she was paid $50,000 for it, which is not like the millions she paid now, but that was 1965. And she was older. She was an older woman. I'm not making excuses. She should have been paid more. Her last appearance on television was in 1967 as the villainous Black Widow in Batman.
No way!
The woman had a work ethic, if nothing else. She was boozy and high as a kite, but she was going to work. And she also appeared on NBC's Tonight Show doing a Beatles interview that aired in 1968.
Huh, that's weird.
Tallulah stayed in New York City until her death, and she died in St. Luke's Hospital in Manhattan on December 12th, 1968, at the age of 66. The cause of death was pleural double pneumonia.
Oof.
Her pneumonia was complicated by emphysema due to cigarette smoking and malnutrition, but it may also have been exacerbated by the strain of flu that was endemic at the time. Her last coherent words reportedly were garbled requests for codeine and bourbon. Her estate...
I hope she got it.
No joke. Her estate was around $2 million at that time, which is the equivalent of like $14 million at our times. She is buried at St. Paul's Churchyard near Chester, Maryland, where her sister Eugenia lived. So Tallulah absolutely lived so full. I mean, 66 years we think is young, but like the life that she lived during that time was absolutely jam-packed. She's known for her witticism, such as, "There is less to this than meets the eye," and "I am as pure as driven slush." So she owned it, and I absolutely love her for owning it at that time. She was obviously an extrovert, uninhibited, outspoken, and often got naked at private parties.
Yes,
She was
girl.
that person.
Laissez-les wonton brûler.
Which fits in like, oh my God, Mardi Gras, Tallulah Bankhead. She lived in the moment. One thing that you may not know about her, but kind of fits in, she broke with many Southerners and was a Democrat and supported civil rights and strongly opposed racism and segregation. And it is said that Tallulah's support in the re-election of Harry S. Truman, that she's actually credited with helping him get into office by belittling his rival, the then New York governor and Republican presidential candidate Thomas E. Dewey. And she did so during an inauguration parade. She booed the South Carolina float, which carried the then governor and segregationist Strom Thurmond.
Yeah.
Who had recently run against Truman on the Dixiecrat ticket, and which had split the Democratic vote by running on a racist pro-segregationist ticket that appealed to most Southern Democrats at the time. So that is the amazing fucking life of Tallulah Bankhead.
Yes.
Raise a glass.
Raise a glass.
Cheers.
Tallulah.
Y'all, we'll be right back.
Do you want more Strange South every week? We can help. You can follow us on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter, and you can join our Facebook fan group, Fans of the Strange South Podcast, to keep the chat going with our whole creepy community. Do you have a story idea for us or a story of your own to share? Email us at stories@thestrangesouth.com. Plus, if you join our Patreon, you not only help support the podcast, you get an exclusive bonus episode for every show and a discount on merch. You can find links to all of these things on our website, thestrangesouth.com, along with photos, links, and show notes from every episode, Strange South t-shirts, mugs, and other goodies. See you there.
From the 80s.
Yes.
Yes.
All right.
From the 80s or
Well,
early 90s.
I decided to go with the Mardi Gras theme this time because I didn't have a to be continued to go with. So and partly this started because my younger daughter was watching Princess and the Frog at school, which don't even get me started because I'll go off on a rant about the number of movies that my kids have watched in school this year. I'm like, what the fuck y'all do? It was like we were lucky. Like it was like we'd have to be at school on Christmas Eve before we got to watch
Right.
Donald Duck Does Goddamn Geometry. You know what I mean? Like they used to roll that TV in on this cart, and we would all be like, "Oh!"
The last,
It's like amazing.
Loved it.
the last cart that I remember being rolled in like that was when the fucking like space shuttle exploded.
Oh my God,
And then
I
that
know.
was the last
Oh, I
cart
know.
that
I
I
know.
ever saw rolled in. They were like,
Because they were
okay,
like, no more live streams.
no more TV for y'all.
Yes, the Challenger ruined a lot of things. But but anyway, one of the many movies my child has watched at school this year is Princess and the Frog. And they were, I don't know if they just randomly chose it or what, but it came up on Disney Plus as a Valentine's special thing too, as like, oh, this is one of our favorite romantic movies that we've done. So
Okay.
I was like, okay. And she has been in Science Olympiad, and she ended up missing part of Princess and the Frog at school. So
Much better options there.
yes.
Yes.
So she was like, I really want to watch it because I don't remember it. You know, we have it on DVD because, you know, there used to be those, but she hadn't watched it in ages. And there was a time period where each of my kids was scared of that movie. So,
Papa
me.
Legba.
well,
Papa
and
Legba.
that's what we're going to get into.
Papa Legba.
Because the character in Princess and the Frog, the villain is the Shadow Man.
I've never watched Princess and the Frog.
Have you not?
Mm-mm.
Oh, you should.
I
It's
know.
good.
I know. I just it was when I didn't have kids when it
No,
came out,
I
and it
know.
was past my Disney phase.
It was past my Disney phase. Yeah, but there's the villain is Facilier, who is the Shadow Man, and he is a tall, skinny man with a space between his front teeth, and he wears a top hat and purple tails. And, you know, he looks pretty suave, but he also looks like a homeless suave man. You know what I mean? You know, he, you know, definitely shifty. You know, he's got the whole angular persona that they'll put on a Disney villain, like the way they did
Right.
with Cruella de Vil.
Right.
And but there's a song that he does, I've Got Friends on the Other Side, where they do this really super cool trippy thing, which is what scared my kids in the first place. But they go into it's almost like oh shit, there are art words for this, Patrice. But it's a weird contrast. They go into almost like negative space, and at one point it's as though you're watching a blacklight dance of all these, like, you know, heads and, you know, totems and everything like that. And then his face is superimposed with a skull face. It's like he's got black light makeup on, and
Right.
they turn off the lights, and there's this man in the skull face with the top hat and the tails. And I was like, that's from somebody, and I can't remember who. So, you know, we watch the movie. I go upstairs, I start, like, you know, instead of just Googling during the, of course I Googled during the movie. I was like, what is this based on? And the first name that comes up is Papa Legba. And so in voodoo, Papa Legba is the Loa, the god of the crossroads. And this is what I'm finding as I do this Google. that
Robert Johnson.
He's Robert Johnson's crossroad devil, you know? So he's the translator to the other gods in the spirit realm. But so basically nobody can talk to the gods unless they go through Papa Legba. And the way that he's personified, though, is as an old man with a walking stick and a straw hat. He's got a limp, and he's got a limp because he always has one foot in the spirit world and one foot in ours.
So it was like, okay, my mind's totally blank, y'all, on this. But remember we talked about the top hat and the sunglasses with one lens popped off, so that you're seeing in this world,
Yep.
and in the other world.
And that is not this guy.
Okay.
And that's the thing that
Weird.
threw me.
Yeah.
Because I was like, but so Papa Legba is this old man. He's followed by dogs. He's, you know, that's his whole shtick.
Right.
And I'm like, that's not the guy. You know, I was like, so I kept on looking. And of course, immediately I've also found all these references to American Horror Story.
I love that.
Because in American Horror Story Coven, they have a Papa Legba character
Right.
with a skull face.
He looks
and a
great.
top
His
hat, right?
costume
Look
is
great.
fantastic.
Yeah.
His makeup is fantastic.
Yes,
He is
exactly. And, you know, I look at it and I'm like, this is Facilier. This is this
he's
character.
scary.
So I look further and I find another voodoo god called Baron Samedi.
Okay.
This is the god of the dead with glasses with one lens popped out.
Right.
The top hat, the tails, smoking a cigar, loves rum, like face of a skull. So I'm like, this is our guy. This is the guy that I'm looking for.
Right.
So what American Horror Story did is they basically took Papa Legba and put him together with Baron Samedi. And so
Okay.
we got like a mashup character, which, you know, if you look back to when that was brand new, you find all these like angry blogs about how they fucked it up.
I'm sure.
But okay, so Baron Samedi loves rum, smokes a cigar. He's raunchy. He's obscene. He's always running around on his wife. He's married to another god. She's the goddess of the dead. They're the king and queen of death, basically, in voodoo. And she's called Maman Brigitte. He's always fucking around on her with human women. And so...
Sounds about right.
So basically, and I was trying to remember, too, where we had talked... It may have been in Robert Johnson that we talked about these.
No, we've talked about more recently than Robert Johnson.
Was it somebody else? Because I know I hadn't heard these stories that I'm going to tell you.
But
I thought we had talked about these.
I talked about a voodoo museum at some time.
We'll have to look back. Maybe you guys can tell us.
Again, can you tell us what we talked about?
Can you tell us what we talked about the other day? So, Baron Samedi is the only one who can take people into the realm of the dead. Mm-hmm. But he can also heal people, and he can resurrect people, but he generally prefers not to. So, and and you have to really bargain with him if you want him to do that for you. Mm-hmm. So, it's said that he had back in the what would that have been? 1890s, had a massive crush on Marie Laveau. Mm-hmm. And you're looking at me funny.
17.
No, not the 1700s. Marie Laveau, 1800s.
Oh, I was thinking
1840s, 1860s.
Okay, I was thinking of anyway, go ahead.
Who were you thinking of? Somebody else?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So,
Madame Lalaurie.
That's not the 1700s though. She was a contemporary.
Anyway, go ahead.
Yeah,
we'll figure out the dates. I don't know.
We'll have to look it up while I tell this because that's part of this story.
I know because in American Horror Story they're contemporaries, but
it sounds like they might actually have been contemporaries.
Okay.
So, it's said that Baron Samedi, the god of death, had a crush on Marie Laveau, and the voodoo queen Marie Laveau, which we've talked about. I don't. If you haven't listened to the show a lot, or you live under a rock, you might not know what I'm talking about. But so she saw an opportunity in this, that he had a crush on her, and eventually, in exchange for a promise of a night with her, she convinced him to tell her the secret of the voodoo trance. He basically gave her the gift of resurrection. Mm-hmm. He taught her how to make zombies.
It was my zombie episode.
It was your zombie episode. That's what it was.
Yes.
And yeah,
God, I was trash during that one.
Yeah. 1780s to 1840s are her dates.
Lalaurie or Laveau?
Lalaurie.
Okay. And then look up Marie Laveau.
Okay.
Because you might be about to mythbuster me on this one. But I'll keep talking while you do it. So,
no, 1801 she was born. So
okay, so they were contemporaries
to
some extent. Mm-hmm. But, one's older than the other. Mm-hmm. Okay. So he gave her the secret of immortality in this story. And because of that, she became the only human who could cross over between the human realm and the spirit realm. But she could only do it on certain days. And one of those days is Mardi Gras. Oh. So in looking all this stuff up, though, I discovered another entity. And it was another one of those, I feel like we might have talked about this somewhere before. But this is an entity that was connected to Baron Samedi. And I found it really interesting. So there's a book called Real Zombies, The Living Dead, and Creatures of the Apocalypse by Brad Steiger. Have you read that one?
No.
Okay. So he said that there are legends that say that Baron Samedi, who is, again, the Loa of the dead, he's the Loa of sexuality, he's the father of a devil baby. And if you look up the devil baby of Bourbon Street or the devil baby of New Orleans, you'll get these stories. So the story is that he lusted after, like I said, he's always cheating on his wife, right? Yeah. He's like Zeus's, he's like Zeus. So he's always going after these girls, and he lusts after this young Creole girl who's just beautiful. And one All Saints Day, she visits the cemetery to visit the grave of her dead mother, and he pulls her into the shadows of the gravestone and rapes her.
Oh, no.
And eventually, his wife, Maman Brigitte, finds out that he's done this and that the girl is pregnant, and turns the girl into a zombie before the child can be born. So the child is born kind of half human, half zombie, or half devil, or something else. There's another origin story that says that that churchgoers at St. Anthony's saw a young woman in the garden just before dawn on Mardi Gras. And as they came out on Mass, from Mass, they see her staggering towards the steps of the back steps of the church with a bloodied parcel in her hands. And then she puts it on the steps and falls dead. And this terrifying wail comes from the parcel, and it turns out there's this deformed baby in the parcel. And some say that this baby is kept by a priest at the Grand Cathedral, but that the baby would escape from the priest and just run havoc in the streets. And he would just attack people left and right, this demon baby. And then he would like skip across the tops of the pews to get out of the church. But there was a good origin story that I found that I like too. And this was by someone named Aline Pustanio. And I'll put a link on the show page. But this is a good telling that is kind of different from the others. So it looks like it's part of a haunted tour, like a ghost tour thing, but it's not shitty like some of those are. So this version puts the devil baby together with some of these other characters from New Orleans lore that we've heard of so often before. So in this version, there's a Creole family in New Orleans, and they have a daughter named Camille. Not Cecile, Camille. So she's gorgeous. All these men want to marry her, but she is ashamed of the idea of marrying a Creole man. Like, she sees all these, white, totally Americanized people who are living these lives of luxury and like upward mobility and old money and all this stuff. And she's like, I want that. And so she turns down all of these Creole suitors, and she keeps on waiting for somebody who can fulfill this dream of her becoming, a
Kept woman.
a kept woman. Well, no, she wants to be like legit. She wants to, marry into a white
society.
Americanized family. Yeah, she wants to be top of society.
Yes, a socialite.
She wants to be respected and wealthy. So she gets herself kind of into circle. She's a pleasant person and she's beautiful. It's not hard. She starts visiting in circles where she felt she can kind of get some of that upward mobility. And in the course of time, she's introduced to a Scotsman who's staying with a family that she knows. He's moved to New Orleans from New York, and he's just kind of trying to settle down. And he is old money, and he's got good connections. This family that he's staying with is one of those wealthy, socially upward, mobile, families. Handsome guy, dark, handsome, mysterious, all that shit. His name is Mackenzie Bowes. And Camille's like, you're my guy. Like, sights set, ready to go. So, and he reciprocates. He before long, there's romance, there's, talk of them getting together. And the only people that don't like this notion, her family's all in on it. He's excited. His host family's excited. But the Creole guys that she passed over to get this guy are a little pissed. A lot of them just kind of move on with their life. But there's this one guy named Etienne Matthew who is just angry to the point of obsession. And he's watching all this stuff happen, and he can't take it anymore. And one day he ends up on the doorstep of none other than Marie Laveau. Yeah. And he goes to her and says, I want Camille back. And she looks at him and she's like, that's not going to happen. Mm-hmm. And he's like, okay, then I want her dead. And she laughs at him. And she's like, I mean, I'm capable, but I don't think you know what you're bringing upon yourself if you do that. And he's like, okay, fine, let's go in between then. Just, I want her to suffer. I want her to suffer like I suffered. And I want her to be humiliated. And she's like, you know what? Fuck you. She's like, fine, so be it.
Yeah.
You're going to regret doing it. It's going to come right back on your head.
Threefold.
But, I'll tell you what I need to do this curse, and you bring it to me, and I will do the charm. Fine. So she says, if I do this, the Scotsman will be ruined, and the woman will suffer. So he brings her all the things. She does the charm. Well, the wedding goes forward, and she tells Etienne, like, this is not like a snap and it's done. She's like, this is going to be something you have to wait for, so don't bother me again. Mm-hmm. And the wedding goes forward, and by the time the Scotsman and Mackenzie and Camille come back from the honeymoon, she's already pregnant. And she's over the moon because while they were away, she's like researching his family and learning more, and she finds out that her husband was a lord back in Scotland at a place called Strathmore. And she's thinking, oh my God, not only am I going to be like upwardly mobile and like wealthy and
I'm a
spectacular.
lady.
Yes, I'm titled. I'm going to be a lady. This is spectacular. So, you know, she looks more and she finds this article about the Earls of Strathmore being cursed. And there's like some nonsense about the dark arts. And there's even something in there about at the Strathmore Castle that the devil was shut into the castle there. And she doesn't believe it, but it does stick in her brain. And her husband soon has started to have like nightmares, like night terrors. And so, you know, this kind of keeps coming back up into her head. She asks what they're about because he wakes up yelling her name in the middle of the night and can't go back to sleep, but he can never tell her what he's dreamed, or he won't tell her what he's dreamed. So one day she tells her mother, Adelaide, that her husband is having this problem. And her mother looks really disturbed. And she asks why. And her mother said, I've been having the same problem. She's like, I've been having really disturbing, upsetting dreams. And the nightmares are really vivid and I can't go back to sleep when I wake from them. So it's because of these two things together that Adelaide then calls on Marie Laveau too. She sends a message by a servant, and within 30 minutes, Laveau is on her doorstep, as if she's just been waiting for this call for, you know, months, which she probably has. And so Camille's mother, Adelaide, tells Marie all about what's going on. And Marie Laveau tells Adelaide that the baby is in grave danger. And that when Camille goes into labor, she has to call Marie Laveau only. No one else can midwife this birth. It is only me. Call for me. And she agrees. And so, and she also says, this problem is not with your daughter, it's with her husband. Like, so not long after, Camille does go into labor. And Adelaide immediately sends a carriage to get Marie Laveau, brings her back. The labor is very, very long and very hard. And Marie stays with Camille the entire time. She wipes her forehead. She sings to her. She holds her hand. She, like, you know, coaches her. And Mackenzie, the Scotsman, the husband, keeps on trying to barge into the room and gets like more and more anxious and perturbed and weird outside. And every time he makes his way into the room, Marie Laveau just expertly pushes him back and is like, sorry, later.
Right.
And the more he gets pushed out, the more nervous he becomes. And he starts to get unhinged as like the labor goes on. And eventually just like out of nowhere, just basically starts screaming and runs off into the woods.
Oh.
And so Camille, meanwhile, is having such a hard time with the labor that she goes unconscious. And just after the baby is born, she dies.
Yeah.
So the child survives. And Marie wraps it in a blanket and covers it up and brings it out to the family and tells them what has happened, tells them Camille didn't make it, and says, now, this is not an ordinary baby. And, you know, that there's a curse involved here. And you need to just be ready as I give you this child. So she moves the blanket aside and the family just goes dead silent. On its little head, there's like two little lumps, like on either side, like buds of horns on its head. It like reaches a hand out to grab the side of the blanket, and its hands are like possum hands, like raccoon hands instead of human hands. And it's kind of appears to be, it's very, very pale, and it looks kind of scaly, and its eyes are shining and strange. And Camille's father just looks at Marie Laveau and says, this is the Scotsman's curse. This is not our problem. And, you know, Marie asks if she should I give it to its father then? And they said, he came back. He was found ranting and foaming at the mouth in the woods. Like, he's done for.
Right.
Like, this dude is fucked. He's crazy. And, you know, you take it. Take the baby. This is yours now. And so Marie Laveau leaves with the child.
I don't know how I feel about Marie Laveau, though, putting this curse on this person.
Well, and that's what I keep
mad,
on coming back, because she says a couple things later on, too. And I'm just like, but you're the one that did it, too.
Did
I mean, you
this.
agreed to do it. But it was other people. I think part of it, she's standing on it. This is other people's choices. You know, this is my vocation. other
Right.
people did it.
I know, but
you know,
I always wanted her to be like only for the
Yeah,
those
I know.
who deserve it.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, nobody's that uncomplicated, I guess.
I know they're not.
So on her way back towards
Angela Bassett.
I know. So on her way out, she's walking on the streets and she sees a figure in the shadows that kind of lurches out of the shadows, and she recognizes it after a couple of minutes as Etienne Mathieu, the man who came to make her do this, to ask her to do this, and she shows him the baby, and she's like, "There, you got what you wanted. You know, this is your revenge." But he does regret it because his body is completely bent. He's completely deformed himself. Like something has happened in the last 9 months and he is unrecognizable. Like his entire face is contorted. People won't look at him. You know, he can't be with anybody. And he tries to speak to her, but she basically says, "Yeah, I'm sorry. I can't. You're gross. Like, I can't look at you.
Keep your cooties to yourself."
Bye." And so now at this point in this story, in this telling of this story, she makes her way not to her own house, but to the house of Delphine Lalaurie.
Oh.
I know. And I was like, all of these people are wound up in this? So Madame Lalaurie says that she will be the child's godmother. And she and Marie Laveau in this story both take turns caring for the devil child as it goes through its infancy. And when the fire burns down the Lalaurie mansion, some people say that Madame escapes and takes the devil baby with her and escapes on a schooner to France with the baby. Others say that he's passed to Marie and Marie cares for him from that point forward. And if you're a loyal listener of the show, and if you pay more attention than I do, because I had to search to figure out where I had heard some of this before, this might sound familiar because the devil baby is just glancingly talked about in the episode. It's like episode 54, the Balls of the South episode, where
Oh my
I tell the
God.
story of the Grunch, and it's the episode where you did your pandemic story.
I know, it was in my bedroom. I remember
That was the one in your
that
bedroom.
was after surgery.
Yes.
The only time we have gone outside besides our live shows,
Exactly.
when I was on my back.
In episode
After back.
54,
The ball story.
it was the Grunch, because there was the craziest like origin of the Grunch story was that Marie Laveau had castrated the devil baby when it was born, and its testicles turned into a male and female Grunch. That was how that whole story came about. The Balls of the South came from that. And this was the devil baby that
Patrice
it was talking
is holding
about.
her face.
I'm trying to put everything together in my brain right
Is
now.
that not crazy?
It is crazy. It's kind of like, okay, everybody like that had their own little stories. They got together in rooms like, how can we connect everybody so that we can have a tour New Orleans?
Exactly.
That it goes from here to here to here to here, and then it's like we're all in it.
Exactly.
But isn't
Everybody
that also just the
has
way
a
oral
cameo.
history works in general? Because you just add a little here or there. and
Well,
you
because it's really
you
funny.
misremember, and then
It
you
is.
add your own thing.
It's
and then
convenient for you to
storytelling.
say
yeah,
something.
like isn't
Well,
that how
and it's weird because at some point, even historical figures are no different than like Greek gods.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I mean, like the actual fact of it doesn't really matter
Oh, yeah.
anymore, and you create all kinds of
Just
different stories that
legend.
contradict
Mm-hmm.
and that live in different universes from one
Paul
another. You know, this is
Bunyan,
like
George
the metaverse
Washington,
of
yeah.
New Orleans,
Right.
where we just yes, in this universe, everyone
Wait,
lives
isn't
together
that how
happily
every
in a
day happens
house.
on social media? Too?
Yeah, right.
I mean, it's like
So this it was the if it's true that Marie Laveau kept the baby and that she raised it and everybody in the French Quarter could hear it cry like demon cries in the middle of the night every night through its infancy, rumors kind of start to develop about what is happening. And again, from this book, Real Zombies, The Living Dead, The Creatures of the Apocalypse, there's this is a long quote, but it was
Okay.
good. This is what the devil baby was like in the collective imagination. The devil baby, quote, is said to be able to climb like a squirrel, swim like a fish, and run faster than a greyhound. Some say he is less than 3 feet high, about the size of a 4-year-old child. He's bald-headed with pointed ears and has the arms and hands of a raccoon, so that stays the same.
Okay, stop. So let's take this
Draw it,
into the
Patrice.
round now of our goblins. So
Not
okay,
too different.
continue.
Not too. Well, and here's what's interesting too. There is an interesting theory that there was a deformed baby that was born in the French Quarter that Marie Laveau, as a saint, which is part of the persona of Marie Laveau in history,
Right.
Exactly.
took in because she did care for people who were orphaned. She actually,
Yes.
that was part
That's
of her
true.
thing.
She's a real person that really lived.
Yes, a real
and
living
there's
Well, she's a
historical
healer.
person.
She was a
And
medicine woman.
And
Yeah.
so there is a theory that there was a deformed baby with a skin condition born in the French Quarter to a family that didn't want it, and Marie Laveau took it in. And there are also theories that Delphine Lalaury's husband, who was a surgeon, there were really horrible improprieties that went on in that house one way or another. Improprieties is a pretty
It's a
crappy
tame
way to describe
Atrocities.
atrocities.
Right.
So yeah, we'll fix that. But that he was a surgeon, and that it's possible that Marie brought the baby to be treated to Delphine Lalaury's husband, and that it had like a skin condition that caused it to look demonish to people who had never seen anything like that before. So that's also a possibility here.
Right,
If
yeah.
you want to dig Marie Laveau out of the gutter a little bit here. But anyway, so this
I
is
do.
what the devil baby
Me too.
was supposed to have looked like. This is the, split hooves for feet and a long rat-like hairy tail. That's a departure.
Yeah.
So, but the rumors that started are that this is, because the reason why somebody would have to adopt a baby that has a deformity like this is because people are terrified of difference, right? And people would start saying, well, it drinks blood, it eats human organs, it has
Right.
superhuman strength. These are all things people say about this thing.
Right.
Some people say that it would wander the streets appearing like an innocent child, but then when a stranger would reach down to help it, it would transform into its hideous self and try to murder them and eat them. Which all I could think of was the Galaxy Quest aliens.
Yes.
And then that there is a story that the devil baby did the bidding of Delphine Lalaurie and kidnapped homeless people off the streets to take
For her to murder.
the dungeon
And
of the
torture.
Lalaurie mansion. There are several stories that tell different versions of the death of the devil baby. One says that it was captured and poisoned by like a cabal of priests, and that it was taken to St. Louis Cathedral and had nails driven through its eyes and its hands and its feet, and then they took it out and buried it in a pit in Slidell. And they say that its blood was purple and that you can still see the stain of purple blood near the altar at the Cathedral of St. Louis. And then there's another one where there was an angry mob that got tired of the demon baby attacking people in the streets at night and cornered it. And it climbed up the spire of St. Louis Cathedral. I don't know if it's St. Louis, but anyway.
Louis.
To escape, and climbed up all the way to the top of the spire and was struck dead by lightning. Then there's another one where a nun beat it to death with an umbrella.
What a way to go, man.
And there is another version where Marie Laveau strangles the devil baby because it will not stop biting her and her children. But then the whole family wears black and buries it in a Christian burial at a cemetery, at St. Louis Cemetery.
So many stories.
I
different
know.
Stories. It's
So,
weird.
and then there are other people who say that it escaped all attempts to kill it and still lives on Bourbon Street to this day. And in the zombie book, it says he only attacks from dusk to dawn. And many say that holy water boils on its own when he's near. Crosses fall off the wall. A rosary will break in your hands if you try to hold it out to ward him off. And it says some legends say that he has the power to see the future. So if he still wanders the streets, it says on Mardi Gras, he takes on the guise of a normal man. So if you find him on Mardi Gras and you guess his true identity, you can ask him any question and he'll answer it with the whole truth. And at midnight, he then magically turns back into his original form. And then they also said that if you find urine, excrement, or vomit from the devil baby on or near your front doorstep in the New Orleans French Quarter, it is not a good sign. And I was like,
Well, that's
that's just never a good
normal.
The odds are high, though.
I know,
That's
like, that's
it's like-
gonna happen.
That's Bourbon Street.
But they say that his feces can be dried to make zombie powder if you're interested in that kind of thing.
Pass.
And then there are other people who say that they dream of the devil baby. And there are certain like portents. This is according to the I always get this one wrong. Necronomicon, fandom that if you dream of the devil baby, it's probably bad luck. That if you dream you're holding it, it means there's trouble at your door. If you dream of kissing it on the face, it means your lover is cheating on you. Oh, specifically with someone of the same sex. That's very specific.
Interesting.
To dream of giving birth to the devil baby means that you will soon have a hysterectomy. Also very specific. And to dream of the devil baby being your child, then you're going to die.
Oh.
That's I guess that's the end of my story. I didn't have an outro or anything.
Then you're gonna die.
Bye.
See ya.
Thanks for listening.
So that's the long and varied tale of the devil baby of New Orleans.
Yes.
And it's funny because you see all these like artist renderings of the devil baby, and you know what it looks like? It looks like every single 3D sonogram I've ever seen, like 3D ultrasounds. It looks like just like a baby with like lumpy skin. The way those 3D ultrasounds, they all look like that.
Yeah,
right?
they're
That's
scary.
what they
I
all
don't
look like.
'em.
It's just like, you know what? Babies aren't cute. I just like maybe that's the secret to this whole thing. This woman had an ugly baby.
Exactly.
And
It
everybody was
just-
like, "Ah!"
Everybody was like, demon.
Poor ugly baby.
Poor ugly baby.
Thank y'all so much for listening. We
Thank
appreciate you.
Bye.
We'll talk to you later. Bye.
Happy Mardi Gras,
Oh,
y'all.
yeah, happy